Mike McDaniel got canned yesterday, and that happened during the podcast, during the emerging podcast, C92.3 The Fan Extra on the free Odyssey app, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10:15 Eastern. Mike McDaniel got fired yesterday. Immediately, people started talking about Mike McDaniel. We knew that the Browns would be interested in Mike McDaniel if he got fired. So right before the tippy top, are you open to Mike McDaniel? Tone, go.
I think he is a really good offensive mind. I do not want him right now as head coach.
I agree. So this conversation isn't going to go very far. I'm open-minded to him. I'm trying to be open-minded to everybody, for crying out loud. Is he keeping Jim Schwartz?
I think that would help, but I'm not sure.
Like, apparently somebody told, I didn't get to hear this live, so I don't mean to quote something. Did the guys in the afternoon say he's their number 2 pick? I imagine behind Harbaugh. I need a full-throated endorsement of Mike McDaniel from somebody here, because I agree with you. When it goes bad, it goes really bad. Now, they won some games down the stretch, which is weird, but
yeah, 5-2, I think.
You know, it's
after we wrote him off. We thought he might get fired after the Browns game.
Yeah, I really did. Especially with the way they played, and they gave up after that pick 6 from Tyson Campbell, because that was it. That was the end of the game. They were still within reach. They came out at halftime, Tua threw the pick 6. That was it. If you have Mike McDaniel, first off, just do it. And maybe some people are more open-minded to it than I am, or that it seems to be. I talk to a lot of fans, general fans in the public, regular folks who they go to a Browns game once or twice a year. Maybe they're season ticket holders, maybe they're not. You know, they're Browns fans. They watch them all on TV. That's it. And boy, I got the sense yesterday, running some errands, seeing some people, they would not be down with that hire. They would really not. The vibe of it, and I got to tell you, we're a Midwestern town. I know he's been an assistant here, obviously. I mean, I remember meeting him and talking to him when he was an assistant here way back in the day. And he is an affable guy. He's a nice guy. Honestly, I think he's a pretty good person from what I can gather. I understand that there's been some mistakes there in the past, but he seems to have, you can always redeem yourself, and he certainly has. He's gotten himself on the right track. There's things to like about him, but I just don't think the vibe clicks with a town like Cleveland. I hear a lot about capri pants, and I'm like, yeah, that ain't going to work in a place like Cleveland, Ohio.
Well,
pants gotta
obviously,
they got to be full-length pants, friend.
Obviously, I mean, we're kind of tongue-in-cheek on that, but it's bigger than that. It has to be like, can he command a locker room?
Yeah.
And these are the questions we had with Kevin Stefanski, very early on. We wondered if he was going to be able to go in. And it's not just, clearly they didn't quit on Miami, so it's not like that. But as the representative of the franchise, and the guy, remember, we have a GM that didn't talk after the trade deadline last year. Didn't talk at the bye week. So the coach becomes the de facto, chief, the guy that is supposed to answer for everybody. And Mike McDaniel is kind of doing improv. It's kind of, I can find him funny at times, but is that the guy that's going to lead you?
When things are going well, I don't think he actually, there's guys, they try to work the room, and then when things go bad, they button up. It's like, well, wait a minute, you were Mr. Jokes 2 weeks ago. Now all of a sudden you're going to be Mr. Hard Ass just because things are going white. I don't think he does that. I mean, I watched those press conferences this last season. I don't think he gets really terse with people. I do. Again, I think that he is a pleasant personality, media, fans, things like that. But I also think that if you're cutting jokes and this team isn't that great, and again, the first thing people bring up, Toad, is the pants, and I'm going, all right, if your pants go a full length until you win the AFC North, you win the AFC North, you can wear capris again on the sidelines. But unless you got to go full length pants in Cleveland, Ohio. If you go full length pants and we're not up there cutting jokes, then maybe you'll be able to pass. Because I think that this is important because you're keeping Andrew Berry. So some people go, Kenny, it doesn't matter what the fans think. It doesn't matter what the fans think. I think it does. I think it matters to the Browns what the fans believe in their coach. Because you just said it. That guy, he probably will be talking for the entire year next year. Now that I'm going to assume that they're going to break this cycle, that Andrew Berry doesn't talk halfway through the season, so I assume that if they sign Mike McDaniel to be the head coach, then he's the guy who speaks for the team all year long. I think the Browns have to think about that and going, our messenger, who's the guy that our fans are going to take seriously here? Who's the guy that can best bring us along and give us a little bit more time to get our eggs in a basket and then in a row? Because right now they're scattered all over. They're all over. So I got to get this thing organized again with the same people and bring our fans along. This is why I've been making the case for Jim Schwartz. I'll talk more about him at 643. But I'm serious about this. I do think the fans' opinion of who they bring in is important. Like, if you brought Dan Pitcher in, if you brought Adden Dirty in, if you brought someone like that in, you'll get some people going, what the hell? Certainly you will. But I think you'll get a lot of people going, okay, let's keep an open mind here. Let's see. You know, they'll go out, they'll have the opening press conference, they'll more than likely win the opening press conference. I know there's Liam Cohen, who's been successful in his first year. There's Nick Sirianni, who's been a successful coach. There's Dan Campbell. That was bizarre, but I didn't think it didn't go the way Sirianni went or Liam Cohen went or anything like that. I think they'll win the opening press conference. People will be on their side. With McDaniel, I just think he's got to get the stink off him of what happened in Miami. I think he's got to get that off of him because I think he's a shock to the system for Browns fans. He like the glasses, the look, the whole thing. If you were a really successful coach and they went to the playoffs, so there's some success there. If you were a really successful coach and you just got fired because it was like a Jimmy Johnson scenario, people line up around the block and they don't care. They don't care about your glasses. They don't care about your watch. They don't care about your pants. They don't care about any of that stuff. But they do, because you're not doing well as a football team, Anthony, and they want to trust somebody. And like John Harbaugh, we look at that, like Ravens fans can't believe that we're getting all excited about John Harbaugh, that the rest of the league's getting all excited about John Harbaugh. And I'm thinking, yeah, you've been a more consistent, more successful team than us for 18 years. How could we not be excited about John Harbaugh? John Harbaugh is a guy that I think fans automatically trust. That's why people are saying, give him whatever he wants. Give him as much money as he wants. If you want to give him a partnership stake, I don't know if that's legal in the NFL, give him that. Get rid of Andrew Berry. Like, it doesn't matter to them. And John Harbaugh is going to be a 64-year-old man. We could be looking at the final years of John Harbaugh in the NFL, and who knows what he'd actually bring.
Yeah, that even if he won, we could be doing this again in 3 years.
Whereas Mike McDaniel, and maybe the fan sentiment doesn't matter as much to you. I think you roll your eyes a little bit at some of the jokes about the glasses and things like that. But I think for a guy like him, if he were to go and, I don't know, be like, say Nate Shieldhouse ended up getting a job. I know that you've made the jokes about Steeplechase and the Browns being interested in him. Say he goes and gets a job somewhere else and he ends up back at L.A., or he ends up in L.A., I should say, because he wasn't in L.A., he was with San Francisco. If he ends up being an offensive coordinator and he does some of the things that I think he can do right, like we do want to run the football. Let me give you some positives here. People in the AFC, especially in the North, want to run the football. He can scheme open running games. He's done that before. He's led to good rushing seasons for running backs because he's able to scheme it open. I think at times they've left their offensive line to languish there. I blame that more on Chris Greer, who's out of there in Miami. I would look at it more towards he's done better with less on their offensive line. And they got some good ones there now, but he's done better with less on his offensive line, and I think he's able to scheme that up. But if it's not clicking year one, I don't think it's going to be a good sell to Browns fans. And it is important to me that if you're going to keep this group here, that they do not trust Andrew Berry. Browns fans, by and large, don't trust Andrew Berry. Then you're going to have to find somebody that does have some either name recognition that they do trust. John Harbaugh. I get if Matt LaFleur were open, if Sean McDermott were open, if Mike Tomlin were open, if Nick Sirianni, if he were open. Some of the names that you brought up going, hey, watch this weekend. If it were one of those names, I think that there would be some trust there with those fans. But if it were to come down to a sell, I think that the easiest names are probably Jim Schwartz, or, I hate to say it, if you keep Jim Schwartz, if you can keep him, then yeah, one of the names that are brought up that aren't the biggest names in the world. But I think that McDaniel, I think McDaniel would be an immediate tune-out for a lot of fans. I do. And I think that he's good with offense. I do think he's good with offense. You question his tactics as a head coach. I think he's good with offense. If he's able to retain Jim Schwartz, I think maybe it could do some good things.
There's nobody that disputes like his offensive acumen. And he had a quarterback. Think about it. He had a quarterback that couldn't take hits and couldn't throw the ball further than 8 yards down the field. Yeah. And yet, if you look, he actually ran an offense that somehow combated all those limitations.
You could do some things like that. 216-474-0092. Jason and Berea, you're next up on the Fan. Hello.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I wanted to say about McDaniel there, I was really surprised to hear you say that a coach needs to get the stink off of him to come to Cleveland. I think that's hilarious, man. I think that's
what to get the stink off. So what? We're just supposed. Wait a minute, Jason. We're supposed to take just any bum off the street?
No. He's not any bum off the street. And to be honest with you, I wasn't even going to say anything about it until I heard you say that. I was going to talk about John Harbaugh because I think that the last thing you guys would want for the Browns is to have John Harbaugh. Because I think if he comes to the Browns, it's going to be because Haslam throws him a bag of money, a la Deshaun Watson, and he's just going to be on cruise control for a few years, and then he'll be gone. I don't think he's going to come here and do anything.
What makes you say that?
I've seen how he's coached the last 5 years with the teams that he's had, the offenses that he's had, and his marriage to Todd Monken and not getting rid of him when he should have.
So it's wait a minute, it's his fault that Lamar couldn't stay healthy this year?
Well, I'm not saying it's his fault. No, of course not. And you can't blame a coach for anybody being hurt, but you also can't give a coach the credit for somebody else's talent.
Well, I guess we can blame a coach for somebody being hurt. He got fired there. And it seems that Lamar's blaming him.
This year, he got fired for the last 5 years.
Oh, I don't.
Look at all the last-minute losses they had. Look at all they couldn't get it done.
That's obviously, and that part of it about the last-minute losses are true, but had they made the field goal, so he got fired over Tyler Loop, he got fired over injuries, had they made the field goal, he's still the head coach there. He's still the head coach there going in 2026.
Until next week, and if they would lose to the Texans, he'd be fired then.
Oh, I flatly disagree.
Well, okay. Well, that's the country we live in. We can disagree. That's fine. I just think it's funny that you think that that McDaniel is like, you're talking about his pants, wear long pants, and then you can come here.
Yeah.
Like, who are you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing about being an open NFL job, Jason, is you can be a little choosy.
Yes,
you can be a little choosy.
Sure, but to like put somebody down because of their pants and because the
glasses.
So you're telling me, Jason, that everybody in Cleveland would just sign up for that? You're telling me in Cleveland? No, Jason.
Negative about
Jason. This is we have spent time talking about.
I wanted to kick him earlier, but my pants got in the way.
Shoes,
I wanted to keep him
about
longer.
visors, about a Richard Mille watch. We have spent time about that. Miele. I'm sorry, I'm not sure. I can't afford it.
I didn't bring mine today.
We spent time talking about
Miele?
Richard Mille watch. We spent time talking about all that stuff. And again, the very first thing when I went to Giant Eagle yesterday, when I went to the TV station yesterday, when I picked up my son from wrestling yesterday, when I stopped at the gas station yesterday, 4 different places in Northeast Ohio. What's the very first thing someone mentioned? I don't think this Mike McDaniel. Just look at him. They don't take him seriously. You need a guy that's taken seriously.
Especially when he was on the sideline here in a windstorm, trying to wear glasses, looking at his play sheet. And I'm like, there's no way he can read that.
Exactly. That's all anybody talked about was that. Camino went as him for Halloween, for crying out loud. He was a Halloween costume.
I thought he went as Camino to his Halloween party.
216-474-0092.